Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Robert Smirking Gun Reviews, and it's Sunday night, Walking Dead night. So we are back with another episode of The Walking Dead. It is Season 9, Episode 6. It's called Who Are You Now? So, full spoilers if you haven't seen the episode. I just want to say a couple of things from last week that I didn't cover. One is, yes, they are planning on doing these Walking Dead movies. Appears they're going to be doing all sorts of things, not just Walking Dead, but there's going to be all sorts of new content coming from AMC, and one of them is going to be the Rick Grimes trilogy of movies they have planned. So I don't know when that'll get started, but my question is, what excuse are they going to come up with that would keep Rick away from the group for this long? Would it be that he's already dead? You know, like, there's lots of options that they have to choose from, because the Rick Grimes that we know would fight to come back to his people. And so I'm hoping that whatever reason they come up with or why he hasn't, you know, why after this time jump that he's not there. I am looking forward to the movies. I'm really curious of what they're going to do. To be honest with you, I don't know. This show has already jumped the shark before, so whatever. Another interesting question here that is not answered and barely brought up at all in any way is the what we knew. It was confirmed that Lauren Cohan, what that last week's episode was her last week. And they did not explain why she left. And again, there's plenty of things that they could come up with here, or why or where she went. My assumption right now would have been at the beginning of this is that, you know, out of shame, maybe she left, or to go find that lady with the book. They gave her the book. All sorts of things. I do think it's kind of a slap in the face for Lauren Cohan that they gave Rick an episode, you know, his big departure, and she gets nothing. We just find out, like, after the fact that was her last episode. Now, I don't think she's done. I think because of what we're seeing with this jump and all the more questions we got, like, this turned into Lost all of a sudden, where I have more questions than answers going on right now. Because we just don't know what's going on, like what caused everything, because it wasn't just Rick dying that made things not the way they're supposed to be. So, I mean, it didn't help. But another thing that I was like, but I'm starting to change. I was going to say something about the girl who plays Judith, but I'm going to just forget it. It's just something about whatever. When she was introduced, I was just kind of like, okay, no. But I'm over it, so I'm not going to talk about it. And then I think that's pretty much it. That there was, if it comes to me while I'm reviewing this episode. So this is a pretty good episode. Again, I am making myself kind of turn my brain off to the fact of all the things that are bugging me, and that this is a new jumping off point. And so, you know, we get this new introduction of characters, and we're going in a whole new direction. But, you know, we're getting some things in here that are from the comic. But I'm done. I'm done comparing it to the comic. I'm done worrying about what they're going to do with the comic, because the comic is the comic, and it never lets me down, and it is still more awesome than this. I'm sorry to say. Never lets me down. That's why it's more awesome. So I'm just referring to The Walking Dead now as the television Walking Dead. It's not the pure Walking Dead. I know that makes me sound like a snob or an elitist or pretentious, but the Walking Dead television show, this episode of that, is really good. And like I said, there are a lot of questions. Like, okay, let's just go get into it though. So I was wondering who that bigger guy was in the group that Magna has, that was a part of. And that is Dan Fogler from Fantastic Beasts. I was like, wow. I mean, and let's not forget Balls of Fury. Don't forget that. But I thought that was pretty amazing that they, this guy's kind of becoming a pretty decent name for himself, and that's him. I like that guy, so I'm on board with that. They're kind of following the Magnus story from. I said I wasn't going to compare the comics, but it is following it somewhat. So they're in town to try to get voted in, like fucking Survivor or something going on now. Gabriel, wearing his, looks like he should be leading the Children of the Corn. I still like the hat, but he does look with the priest and everything. He just looks like he's like the guy from, he should be in Children of the Corn 8. Him and Rosita. Okay. Didn't see that coming at all. What else do we got here? Well, okay, so let's talk about this. I was gonna pick Eugene and Rosita in the mud pit, or in the, covered in mud as the walkers go by, but I couldn't. I had to pick Carol. Why? Because despite, okay, let's just start with where she, is hanging out with Jerry. He wants to call her a queen. In her typical Carol fashion, it's not happening. Then we get reintroduced to a more grown-up Henry, who I will never warm up to. I didn't care for him when he was a child. I don't care for him as a little bit older. I just don't care for him. And when he kind of mounts off to Ezekiel, and he said something about mind your tone, I was like, oh man, hit that kid. And so, yeah, they go on, like, her and Carol and Henry go on this, like, run with some supplies and stuff. And he hears somebody calling out for help. And so Dare Dummy, as I'm going to call him right now, with his little stick running to rescue somebody like a stupid ass, goes and gets himself captured by, or, caught, tricked by the Saviors. Okay, so now we know at least what happened to the remaining Saviors from the fight from last season that we didn't even get to see. And that the bearded asshole is still alive with the rest of the remaining jerk-off Saviors that apparently were set free or let go, or however they settled it, because again, unanswered questions here, big unanswered questions. And so Beardy McJerkoff face takes all their stuff, and then as if Dare Dummy hasn't learned his lesson by not, to not run into the fray blindly, he tries to stop Beardy when he wants Carol's ring. And Carol was gonna, was just like, yeah, take the shit, man, all right? It's no big whoop, whatever. You guys are a bunch of fucking assholes. And she's bigger than that, and it's not worth it. There's two of them and a whole bunch of them, so the odds are not in their favor. But Dare Dummy tries to use his little stick powers and gets knocked down again. And again puts them in more danger than needs to happen. So she gives up the ring and just says go, and you think that's it, because then, Matt Dummy, sorry, I know he's not blind, it just, with the way he was running and everything, so Dare Dummy and her have this conversation by the fire about, the way things are and all that stuff, and you're like, oh gosh, Carol, what's happened to you, lady? What's happened? Because she did look, pretty ready there to take care of business. And so, as soon as you see the Savior sleeping and somebody pulls the matchstick out of, Beardy McJerkface's mouth, and you see the gas can. Yeah, it's Carol. And yeah, she's badass. Again. So just when you thought that she's gone domestic a little bit, no. There's a lot of bad ways to die, but waking up on fire has got to be up there. So dude again says, hey, you'll never see us again. But, let's see. He had a knife to her throat and they let him go. And then he comes back with the gun. And whatever happened, she let him go. Again. And now he's saying, you'll never see me again. Again. So, yeah. She says, yeah. And lights these fuckers up. So it appears that at least the majority of the saviors now that didn't want to cooperate with the way things need to be are lit up in smoke. And that was pretty fucking badass. It was probably the best part of the episode. It was the best part. Now we also have Eugene and Rosita having awkward conversations about unrequited love on the way to put out the transmitter that Gabriel and them were talking about, which it sounds like they're not supposed to really be doing as far as like Michonne would want, because they want to put out a thing that could find more people further out now that they've brought in this new group of people up on this high water tower, which gave me some foreshadowing there. Like, I don't know, we might be returning to that water tower to, let's just say, some bad circumstances. Maybe, possibly. I'm calling it right now, though. If they end up going back to that water tower to get that transmitter, I have a bad feeling about what's going to happen. And so, yes, a herd just kind of randomly shows up. And it's very unexpected, as Eugene puts it. They put a major Yui and on the down low. And they're on the run. Eugene's got a bad leg, and this herd's coming at him out of nowhere. And this is where we're finally introduced. Well, we are introduced. The characters don't know this, but this is the Whisperers. I will not spoil any more. I won't say anything more than that, other than the Whisperers. There's voices coming from the zombies. Where'd they go? And, you let them go or something like that, or you let them get away, something like that. So, if you don't know what that it means, if you think that zombies are talking, I go ahead and believe whatever you need to right now. I will not correct you. If you think that that's what's actually going on. That was a pretty cool scene, where they got to cover themselves up in mud. It made me really cringe because I don't even like to get my hands dirty. So, and that would be like hell for me, covering myself up in mud. Now we got the whole thing with Alexandria and this new group, and Michonne is kind of taking the Rick position here. That Rick would have taken. Well, again, I'm trying to stay away from talking about the comic, but it's kind of handled similarly to that, what happens in the book. Magna is definitely a lot like her comic book counterpart right now. And just, figuring out where they're going to go. You're clearly, these people have been through hell. This isn't the last we're seeing of them, but the most interesting thing for me here is them talking about Hilltop, that Earl's in charge. So we know Maggie's not in charge up there. They said her, so I'm assuming that's probably Enid or Tara, or because they were missing in this episode. So speaking of things missing, Aaron's arm. And he's got like a little prosthetic on. That was pretty cool. And yes, Michonne comes around and does not make them leave. They're sending them to Hilltop. I did like the whole thing where Fogler basically gets to talk about them, and they all kind of get to talk about who they were and who they are now and all that stuff. Especially like the sign language stuff. It's a new little thing that could be interesting and how they could use that later on in the episodes. And then I guess I almost forgot to talk about Negan and Judith. Now Judith is taking up the Carl position that would have been Carl's job to, not job, but Carl was the one who, oh God, here we go again. I'm just going to have to go back on my word, or what I said. Carl was the original person that was talking to Negan. They gave that job to Judith now on the show. I'm hoping that it's just circumstances and time, but it does kind of seem like they cut Negan's metaphorical balls. The way he's kind of talking. That is not the same person. But I mean, time, imprisonment can change people. But again, I feel like you're missing something that, like, I don't know. It's good to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan cleaned up. I hope that we're going to see, if not, we don't need to see evil Negan, but I do want to see that personality, the big personality and just the boisterousness and cockiness. Because right now he doesn't seem to be too cocky, but like I said, again, being in prison, I guess it would be more realistic that he kind of changed the way he sounds and acts and talks around people for the most part. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes to. Let's see, is that all? I feel like that's all. Yeah. We're done. I'm not going to talk anymore about it. If I forget anything, I will bring it up at the beginning of next week's episode. So, a lot of questions. Oh, the X. That looks like a brand on Michonne's back. What the fuck is that about? Her talking to Rick reminds me of when Rick was talking to Lori after she died. But Rick's talking to Lori didn't seem to last that long, if I remember correctly, and it's been a long time, and Michonne is probably been talking to Rick for a good long time. So, not that I don't think we should really be worried about it, but it's just something she does. And yeah, but that brand, like, I'm assuming we are going to get a flashback episode, and we'll probably see Lauren Cohan, because I think she did like 6 or 7 or something episodes, like, so we've got a lot of explaining to do, but I don't know if they'll save that for the finale, like episode 8, or if we're going to see that in the back half. We've got to see it in the back half, if at least, because next week's episode doesn't look like, it just looks like more a continuation of this. And yeah, that's about it. It's a really good episode, a really good jumping off point. It's a nice new beginning. Daryl's out in the wilderness by himself for a long time, and I guess he's just in his own, again, assuming a lot, but it looks like he put himself in exile. I don't know, probably punishing himself for not believing in Rick. Same way along the lines of what could have happened to Maggie. So anyway, oh, and what's with the kid? What's with the other kid? Michonne has a kid? Was she pregnant at the time when Rick died? And why does that kid not look like he should be older? I don't know. Again, like I said, this is like freaking Lost, man. Every time you get an answer, you got like 16 more questions. And that's not a bad thing, as long as we get some answers pretty soon. So anyway, if you like this episode, if you liked this video, wow, it's 9:44, it's been a long day. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, this is Robert Smirking Gun Review saying we will see you on the next video. Have a great night. Bye.